All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We're talking about the Houston Rockets because a couple of minutes ago, they just selected with the third pick in this year's NBA draft class, Reed Sheppard, guard out of Kentucky. I absolutely love it. I am so glad they didn't try and trade this or compile a bunch of moves from Mikal Bridges, who was traded earlier today to the New York Knicks tape. I'm glad they didn't do something crazy for an aging old Kevin Durant. I'm glad they didn't trade for Brandon Ingram. I'm glad they didn't flip 3 for 9 and Marcus Smart. This was the best possible pick for the Houston Rockets here. And Reed Sheppard, by the way, is going to be really good. I think there was a really legitimate case for Reed Sheppard being the number 1 overall pick in this year's draft class. Obviously, it was not him. But this almost felt too easy. We literally live streamed it. If you guys haven't checked out my Houston Rockets podcast, check it out. The link's down below on all streaming sites. But we're streaming this on my Houston Rockets daily channel, and it just felt so underwhelming. It felt too easy. It kind of reminded me. Before we actually selected Reed Sheppard, it reminded me a little bit of when we took Jabari at 3, and Jabari was supposed to go number 1, and we were supposed to walk away with Banchero. I'm just so happy that we did not trade this pick for some type of veteran or whatever. But before we get into today's video, if you guys enjoyed, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily Houston Rockets content. Might throw this up on the main, so let me know if you guys want more NBA content down below. But nonetheless, these clips are from my boy Swaggy. He just made a great Rockets video. Go check that one out. I'll link it in the description. But yeah, Reed Sheppard, just real quick on Reed. He's phenomenal. In my opinion, he's the best shooter in this year's draft class. He's one of the best shot creators, one of the best playmakers, I should say. He's going to be literally perfect with Alperen Sengun. He's just a good team basketball player. And, I think he gets joked around a lot because he is, white and he is a little bit smaller. He's a guard. He's 6'3", 187. And he just had a really good year over at Kentucky this past season. I think as far as day one impact goes, I do think he will make a day one impact. But I just think he fits perfectly on this bench, and you are going to probably play him a lot with the starters. I would imagine this is a dude who right out of the gate is going to be a 20 minutes per game guy. And I understand a lot of people were hesitant to even take a rookie at the 3rd overall pick because, I was talking about this on one of my shows today. The only thing we need to figure out this upcoming season is if the hopeful star is on this roster. But real quick on Reed Sheppard before we talk about the overall outlook for the Houston Rockets, 12.5 points per game, a little over 4 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 2.5 steals, 54% from the field, 56% from downtown, 52% from downtown, 56% shooting twos. This is, once again, one of the best shooters in the entire NBA draft. And this is one of those guys where he just doesn't need the ball in his hands at all times. So this upcoming season, I imagine he will be coming off of the bench with, Amin Thompson and Cam Whitmore and all those guys. But real quick, just my thought process on the Houston Rockets, because free agency has begun and, Houston's going to make a move. This isn't going to be the exact roster that we had last season. I don't think anything crazy is going to happen. I don't think Devin Booker will be traded. Kevin Durant will be traded. Donovan Mitchell, Brandon Ingram, whatever. But here's my thought process, because every Rockets fan, or a lot of Rockets fans in my, live chat, people are worried about money, right? So people are like, all right, you know what? Trade some of these younger pieces because you can't pay it all. And from my standpoint, it's more of like, if you are in a situation where you have, because before this draft pick, we had 6 young players, right? Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun entering big years right here, right? Jalen Green entering his 4th season. And then from there, you have Jabari Smith Jr., you got Tari Eason, you have Amin Thompson and Cam Whitmore. But with Jalen Green and Alperen Sengun, so many people are like, yeah, trade one of those guys so we don't have to, we can pay all of these players. And it's like, nah, man, because if Alperen Sengun is who we think he is going to be, you pay him rightfully so. These are good problems to have. With Jalen Green, hopefully he's the starting 2 for the Houston Rockets this upcoming season. The reason I say that is because if Jalen Green plays how he did in the second half, well, yeah, you probably pay him. If the Houston Rockets win a playoff series this upcoming season and Jalen Green plays over 70 games as the starting shooting guard for the Houston Rockets, you probably pay Jalen Green. But if Jalen doesn't play how he did in the second half and he plays how he did in the first half, well, you're probably not re-signing Jalen Green. And if you are, you're probably not going to re-sign him for long. Tari Eason just played 20 basketball games, all right? Don't worry about his money. Jabari Smith Jr., same type of thing. He was a starter last year. He's been a starter for the last 2 seasons. But if in a couple of years from now, our issue is we have to pay both Tari Eason and Jabari Smith Jr., or even one of those players, that's a really good problem to have. And then moving down to Cam Whitmore and Amin Thompson, 2 players who came off the bench for pretty much their entire rookie seasons. Don't worry about either of those 2 players, because if you have to pay either one of those guys in 3 years, a big contract, once again, that's a really good problem to have. And now you bring in Reed Sheppard, the 7th of our, quote unquote, young core here. Once again, in 4 years from now, if you have to pay Reed Sheppard big money, that's a good problem to have. So my big issue with trading for Mikal Bridges isn't necessarily like my value of Jalen Green, my value of Tari Eason, because unfortunately, even as a fan of these teams, you have to realize it's a business. And unfortunately, most of these players won't retire by the team they were drafted. So I think we're a year away from being a year away. I don't think the Mikal Bridges trade ever made any sense. I don't think trading pick number 3 for Marcus Smart and the 9th pick ever made too much sense, because, Tari played 20 games, right? Amin was injured. Cam barely saw minutes. Jabari improved. Şengün missed the end of the season. Jalen Green was inconsistent for the first half of the season. There's just too many looming questions that I don't have enough data. I don't have enough eye tests to determine what the proper move is going to be. So, yeah, Houston's probably going to make a move in the offseason. If they do, it's probably going to be for like a proven veteran scorer, some type of 3-point shooter. And I wouldn't even be surprised if it was a guy like Eric Gordon, or Eric Gordon himself. But this Rockets team was very resilient last season. If you guys remember, when we were healthy, the Houston Rockets were one of the best teams, not only in the West, but in the entire NBA. And then you started to see random injuries come in. Tari Eason goes down. And yeah, I don't have enough of a sample size with some of these players, pretty much all of my young players, to make a crazy decision to go into win now mode. So Reed Sheppard's going to be a day 1 impact player. I wouldn't be surprised if he was closing basketball games by the end of the regular season. But yeah, this is like the perfect do-it-your-all guy. I forget who his NBA comps are. For me personally, it's a guy like Austin Reeves. I think he'll be like similar to Austin Reeves, but obviously being drafted 3rd overall, you hope to have a little bit of a higher ceiling. So that's it for today. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button. Once again, I do a Rockets podcast probably 3 times a week at least. I'll throw that link down below on streaming sites, but thank you guys for watching, and let me know your thoughts on Reed Sheppard.